So mark my words, but later on this year, there will be a barn standing right here. It's gonna be a wooden barn. It should be roughly about 40 feet by 50 feet with a little overhang off to the side that I can use to store equipment. Towards the end of the winter, my buddy Alfred actually installed piers all throughout this area. Those piers are set about every 10 feet or so. And so the idea is that when we build the barn, the posts of the barn are gonna sit on top of those piers, and that's what's gonna form the structure. It's essentially a pole barn design, and the barn cats I think are gonna love it. But one of the things I've gotten a lot of questions about this big magical barn that we're gonna build later this spring is how am I gonna build it? For those of you guys who are regular viewers of our channel, you're very well aware that construction is not one of my strengths. And so I actually ended up hiring a timber framer to help me build this barn. It's a buddy of mine by the name of Justin, and he is just wicked skilled. He is a timber framer. He has been building barns and structures like this for years. And even though there's about 2 feet of snow on the ground and it's sleeting as I record this, Justin is actively working right now to build our barn. You see, a couple of months ago, he got all the lumber delivered to his workshop, and what he's been doing is, while the weather has been too inclement to work outside, what he's been doing is taking all the lumber, and he's been cutting it and building it to the plans that he designed, and he's getting everything just so that when all the snow melts later this spring, he can come down here with all the timber and use that to assemble the barn. I am super excited for this to happen. It's gonna be so cool to have this barn built, but I also really wanted to see what it looks like while he's building the actual timber frame and cutting all the wood and like what he's doing right now. So on today's video, we're gonna be going on a little bit of a field trip. And here we are. Justin, good to see you, man.
Nice to see you.
All right, so this is Justin of Timeless Timber Homes. You are the proprietor of this establishment here, and this is your workshop and
home.
So give me the layout.
Yeah, so we bought this property probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it was all overgrown. I then built that place, and me, my wife, and 2 kids moved into that tiny home as we were building this home here.
And so now this is your house and workshop?
Exactly. So I work downstairs and we live upstairs.
Awesome. Let's go inside and check it out. I mean, we're getting pelted with snow here today. Oh, wow. This is pretty cool. So this is all timber frame, huh?
Yep, this is all timber frame. This used to be an old sugar house that I took down and restored most of the timber, and as I was building it, I kind of replaced pieces as I needed to. Yep, so I made it downstairs my workshop. Quickly realized that it needed to be a little bit bigger. Soon we'll build another shop that's a little bit more sizable. But if you follow me over here, we have our tool room where we store our tools. We come over, this is entering into the living space, our mud room, our new sauna.
Wow, that's a pretty cushy ad.
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, so this is where we live.
Wow, this is beautiful.
You can see all the reclaimed timbers versus the new timbers that I replaced. And so yeah, we've been slowly building this place for the past 2 years or so. It's far from finished, but it's a work in progress. And
this is amazing, man. I am super impressed. This place is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I just love what you did too. Yeah, blend in the old and the new. Wow.
Yeah.
So now you are in the middle of building our barn as we speak, huh?
That's right.
Can you check it out?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Right now in the shop we have 5 eave posts, and then we have 4 rafters. I think there's a total of 46 rafters, so we're slowly plucking away at it. Basically I'll show you exactly what posts we're working on.
So yes, for folks who are unfamiliar, this is the design of our barn right here.
Right now we have all 5 of these eave posts that I'm going to demonstrate some cuts on, and that should be the last of the posts. And then from there, it's the top plates and the rafters and the cupola is pretty much most of what we have left to cut.
How much total lumber did it take to get like the basics going here?
I think this frame was probably, it was about 18,000 board feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 2 full tractor trailer loads of timber.
And now it's hemlock, pine.
So this is all eastern white pine.
Yep.
And this wood in particular, because of the size of the order, this came from Queensbury, New York. At this point, they're all laid out. And then so after layout, what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll score every single line with a razor blade. After that, I'll come through and I'll drill all my peg holes. From there, it's, you know, it's mortising, it's cutting the tenons, and that's partly what I'm going to do today.
Now, how did you learn to do all this stuff?
Probably 10 years ago, I was working on a sugaring operation. The guy who ran the business, he said, hey, listen, we need to build a bigger sugar house, and I want to do it post and beam. I said, well, who are you going to hire to do that? And he said, you. And so I basically self-taught, and then, you know, from there I fell in love with it.
I've tried to do just like little small scale version of mortise and tenon, like trying to do that, and just it always turns into a nightmare. Like, what are the biggest tricks that you find to be able to kind of do that fine wood fitting?
Sharp blades, sharp tools, yeah, and patience, honestly. And also knowing what cuts need to be perfect and what cuts don't. So there's your tenon.
I mean, I'm just like, wow, it's amazing. That'll just slot right into
so
piece.
Well, the piece is actually out there, so the top plate's going to drop right onto it. So the top plate will be held with the crane at the time. So what I'm going to do is just put a starter so that we start the tenon when the top plate is on the crane. So we're not.
So then you're just basically just dropping it down right on top.
Exactly.
And so you've just gone through and done like all your pre-measurements, like you can see it on this piece.
Exactly.
Right? So you figured out kind of what you needed here, and then you're just cutting away this, and that's how you end up with that.
That's right.
Wow.
This mortise in particular is going to be a brace pocket. You can see here we have a brace coming from the post into the tie beam. So right here is the pocket that we're actually cutting.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. This beam that Justin just cut is going to sit vertically just like that one right there. It's going to have supports coming off the side to hold up the second floor, essentially.
Exactly.
The tool that Justin's going to use to cut the mortise is really loud.
So that's the mortise part of this brace pocket. Now what we're going to do is we're going to router the housing piece, because we're going to fully house the brace into the post.
How do you go from, all right, I want a barn this big, to, oh, I got to make a cut exactly like this?
So I basically, you know, started with the basic, you know, principal purlin common rafter design. That's when I came to you and I said, hey, how do you want to tweak this frame? What do you need? Do you need this door? Where do you want that door? Where do you want your stairs? And then from there, you know, it's pretty standard practice, you know, as far as where my braces go. Usually you can cut out, you know, up to 20% of your braces.
I mean, it's so cool to see this. I mean, just after going through the design process with you, like, now be here watching you make these cuts so that in like May, you're able to fit all these pieces together.
Exactly, right. Do you want to try the chisel?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Find your scored line, right? And then get that established. And just kind of work your way down the line. You can see how clean that line is.
Right.
You know, this triangle that this brace pocket's creating has to be perfect. Timber framing is not forgiving. This is the money point here, so we have to make sure nothing inside of here protrudes out past that point.
Yeah,
exactly. So if it's overcut a little bit, that's okay, and you can kind of see there. This bottom point is good. The side wall still needs a little bit more removal down here, and I think that's really why I love timber framing so much, is because there is no room for error, and you know, it requires a high level of focus, and you just, honestly, when you're timber framing, everything else goes away, you know?
Yeah?
Yep, that's good, yep. Nice. Yep, and you can just work your way down the line.
Wow, very cool.
That's a framing chisel that was hand forged in England.
Look at this. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. It feels like a samurai sword.
And so this is a slick. You know, you'll use these on like scarf joints and other pieces of joinery, but you know, this will just kind of come through. Then there's the 2-inch framing chisel as well.
Wow.
You know, these two things are my go-to, the chisel and the hand plane, as far as, you know, getting things where they need to be. I probably have those two tools in my hands, you know, probably 75% of the time.
Talk to me a little bit big picture process. So you're working through this stuff now. It's going to take you a couple weeks to kind of essentially get everything cut and prepped.
Yep.
And then what's our plan for the barn?
Yeah, so we're gonna bring the frame over. We're gonna assemble everything that we possibly can on the ground. The crane will lift up what we call bents. From there, it's flying different pieces, and then when the barn's up, the barn's up. As you can see here, I have the theoretical elevation line, but we have to make sure all the piers and the post bases are.
Well, and I know that that's going to be one of the dilemmas that we have, right? You know, one of the things that when Alfred was putting in the piers that he had to deal with was there were these giant boulders that he removed some, but he couldn't get all of them out. And so I think there's like 1 or 2 piers that sit just a tad higher.
Yeah.
So we'll have to cheat there.
Exactly.
I'm super excited, man. Thanks for having me over here today.
Yeah, absolutely.